it's not really going to be any change from now. I'd say the seniors are just as competitive as our masters. I don't think there's a lot in that. I think if you're a champion as a senior, you absolutely have the ability to do so as a master.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things where you can kind of see that these seniors who are aging up. Rune had his first year last year, but going into this second year of masters, where he really has to put himself on the spot and making sure that he stays where he built himself last season, right? Gonna go for some coin flipping on the table as well, deciding who gets to go first in a matchup where both of them wants to go second. Gardevoird wants to go for that technical machine evolution. Means you want to go second. So does Fabian. He also wants to go second. So it's actually going to be really important to see who's going first, who's going second.
Absolutely.
We get to put where the advantage actually goes. Because here, if we're looking from a setup perspective of things, the one who gets to go second definitely has the advantage here.
Absolutely. As long as they don't miss that technical machine evolution, that very important piece, that key factor, one energy and a technical machine evolution and some basics on the bench, and you're ready to go. If either of them miss that, it could spell disaster.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about, you know, with Fabian playing a Dragapult deck, nothing really that is super important is prized here, and that's really good, but oftentimes as a Dragapult deck, you want to sit and use Itchy Pollen for as long as possible.
It's ever so true, and we've seen it a lot across our format. Ever since Badu has darkened our doors, we've noticed that sweet little face be quite cheeky behind closed doors. And we're starting off with a Lily's Clefairy and Elgium in our active spots, and Rune gets to go first. Fabian's got that little bit of advantage going second.
Yeah, and then we have to see if Fabian can actually, you know, make something out of it. Use that team evolution. Rune starts off beautifully with that Earthen Vessel, getting those energies into hand, which is what you need to do as well. Both of these decks are running Monkey Dory. Essentially, Rune wants to set up as like a side quest in this matchup, because what Rune wants to speed into is get as many Gardevoirs in play as possible. It's only going to be one, running two, running the typical free 2-2 line of Gardevoir, but want to be getting that into play as soon as possible to make sure that Fabian's setup gets disrupted by what Rune is doing.
Ever so true. An Earthen Vessel, using it to discard that Psychic type energy at the start of the game is fantastic. We want as many of those in the discard pile as possible, as early as possible. We really do need to be flourishing that Psychic energy into the discard pile, and I think we have a couple of ways of doing that in this deck, and so Rune's going to be really looking to push for that, making sure their attacks are landing as soon as that Gardevoir is evolved. Not enough energy in that discard pile, and Psychic Embrace is not doing much.
And we do get to mention the key features of Gardevoir. Psychic Embrace for energy, any damage bullet counters you can put on board to use with Monkey Dory. High damage output, Drifloon, Screamtail. Rune is not playing Drifloon, but Screamtail does the job with some Night Stretches on top. And yeah, really, if once you get that set up, the deck is actually quite simplistic. Rune's list is like not carrying any real text. It's just running the Cure consistency package with, you know, free 2-2 Gardevoir, free Monkey Dory, Festivity, Clefairy, Screamtail, Mew. It's as simple as that.
But no Ralts on the bench. That really doesn't look good. We're wanting those basics as soon as possible. A Pokemon needs to be on the field for at least one of your full turns before it's able to evolve. So Rune currently can't evolve anything. Clefairy will be able to attack next turn, but without a very fruitful bench, we're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage.
And the worst part about this, Amy, is that with Fabian having priced of one Badu, there's going to be a second one. Well, actually, never mind. There's only one Badu in deck. That's actually a huge opportunity missed for Fabian, since had Fabian been able to use Badu here in these circumstances, Fabian could have been able to say, well, Rune, you're not going to get to play Nest Ball nor Body Puffin to actually try and get out your setup. The longer Gardevoir is without Ralts, the more it suffers. And had Fabian, for example, been able to say, wait, Itchy Pollen, then we would have been seeing Fabian already so much far ahead. But there's no draw support. It's just being able to use the Elgium, actually. That's the only thing.
And actually, this could make a difference. Of course, Elgium gets to move an energy. This will enable Monkey Dory to attack, but that's not going to be as damning as a Clefairy. So Monkey Dory being able to use Mind Bend, it does knock out the Elgium, but it won't be doing much more. And as it stands, Clefairy can't retreat regardless. Now, Rune's looking in that deck with that Arven for an item and a tool card, and Secret Box might just be the way out of this.
Secret Box is always the way out of things. That box equals setup instantaneously. You already see the Psychic energies being in hand. You can discard those to have them available for a Psychic Embrace later. And once you see that, you get to the point of like, Rune can go ahead, discard the Team Evolution. You're like, what? Why does he do that? Well, we can just go ahead and get Artisan, Nest Ball, another Team Evolution, because they're running two, and then we can get double Curlia set up, since Rune is in a fortunate position where no Curlia are prized, which means you almost instantaneously set up, and having that Artisan in play also means you can get to search out the Screamtail later, and being able to start bullying out these 3Ps and their cloaks.
Absolutely, ever so true. So we're getting all of our puzzle pieces now put together. We have, there we go, lots of cards that are going to help us. And of course, our top 8, a matchup between Alexander and Kaito. Kaito managed to go 2-1, winning with their Dragapult variant.
So yeah, the Terra Box has not been having a good time in Top Cut, but making it so far, we have to remember we started with 2,400 players, so it's quite a shout.
Indeed, and here we go with our Monkey Dory with the energy moved by Elgium itself, using Technical Machine Evolution in order to evolve our 2 Ralts into 2 Curlia already. Rune really picking up the pace, using Artisan and Nest Ball to get those Ralts on the bench, lickety-split, and now they're already Curlia. The pace has been set. Rune has done an excellent job there of recovering from a really awful position of not having any Ralts turn 1.
And oftentimes when you're sitting and playing Dragapult versus Gardevoird, you need exactly this not to happen.
Yes.
When exactly this happens, you end up in a position where, well, then Screamtail comes out. If Fabian evolves into a Dracloak, he knows that that Artisan is going to grab a Screamtail and that Dracloak is going to be knocked out. It's where you wanted to evolve into double Dracloak. Having to go ahead and Buddy Puff, and yes, we can go ahead and get it. And Artisan can go ahead and get the Shaman, though, so get some protection services offered. Although, with the Clefairy already being benched, Fabian knows that this has to be an alternate strategy to make sure that we can actually have a real shot at this game.
Absolutely. Now, we've noticed Shaman a lot in decks this weekend. The sweet little grass type has been helping out a lot, and that is an absolute absolutely the case in this instance, where Screamtail won't be able to damage the benched Pokemon.
We do see a little slight shift in the energy placement there, moving it from Monkey Door to Clefairy. Fabian technically wants that energy more so at the Clefairy, also in terms of the retreat from Monkey Door potentially, and then, you know, avoiding that Monkey Door getting to use the Mind Bend. But it's not really a thing, like, Fabian's just doing it because he can, instead of passing, really. But for Rune, it's about, you know, do we get into Ultra Ball? Do we get into some Darkness energy to be able to start using the Adrenaline Brain and start washing some damage onto Fabian's board? And then we have to remember, Fabian doesn't have Inter Cloak down.
Okay, so we've got the Ultra Ball, but we don't have any Darkness Energy in hand yet. We might be able to use some resources to get some, but right now it's looking like not using this Monkey Dory is probably on the cards. So we've got the Gardevoird, we've got plenty of Psychic-type energy in the discard pile, and we've got lots of other cards in our toolbox right now to help us through, including a Night Stretcher if we did need any for later. We can go ahead and Psychic Embrace to this Monkey Dory, which attaches an energy to it for 20 damage, using it to manually retreat, and then, of course, Psychic Embracing to Clefairy, which is now all set up and ready to go.
And Rune seems like he's sensing no danger here, right? But there is just one danger. Fabian promoting this Monkey Dory to make sure that you can actually retreat the energy off, but if Fabian can get into Rare Candy, Blaziken, have the Fire Energy in the discard pile. I know Fabian has struggled with Fire Energy in the past, right? But if we can get to that spot, we can get that clean one-hit knockout on Clefairy. And yet again, because Rune is not running any Drifloon, he's actually going to have a rough time getting the knockouts of these Blazikens because there's not any true way of getting that one-hit knockout.
That's ever so true, yes, but it looks like we're eyeing up that secret box again. Truly is the worst-kept secret of this event, and honestly is putting in so much work with helping these decks pull through with some consistency that is just undeniable. Going for an Artisan, for another Monkey Dory, attaching a Technical Machine Evolution, and going, of course, in for a Dracloak and a Combuskin using its effect. So now, of course, that is the end of Fabian's turn. We're moving on to Rune. What are they going to respond with to keep the pressure on after taking that first prize card?
Yeah, and Rune has been put into the role as aggressor, right? After Fabian got to use that team evolution after what we would call, worst kept secret, best kept box.
Absolutely.
Really, in this tournament here, like, getting this set up is great, but Rune has to find a way whereas we can keep on pressure. It needs to revolve around getting Darkness Energies for these Monkey Dory. Rune has to start washing some damage over where we're going to have this little tug of war with the monkeys, right? The Adrenaline Brain's going to go back and forth. Who can get most Monkey Dories into play? Who can get to use most of them simultaneously? Who can get to use them for the best effect possible? And that's where Rune has a little bit of an advantage, running 3 Monkey Dories and 3 Dark Brass. Fabian runs 2 of each.
Absolutely, and Rune also has greater control over the damage counters on their own Pokemon because of the Psychic Embrace. So at the moment, Fabian can't put any counters on because they don't have a Dragapult yet. We're going straight in with the Gardevoird. 60 damage on it from the Psychic Embrace of 3. But of course, we can already Adrenaline Brain 3 damage counters away from the Gardevoird thanks to Monkey Dory's ability, and that is going to be placed right on that Shaman. Now, because we're moving damage, we absolutely can choose Shaman as a target. It is not protected from those damage counters.
Yeah, Shaman has to be attacked from damage, is not attacked from abilities moving over. And what is going to be, you know, really unsettling for Fabian is that he's not going to be able to get Monkey Dory online plus getting an attacker online. That's not going to be able to do because you can only use one of the Blaziken's ability per turn when you can only get one in play, that is. So if you want to be able to attack without a Dragapult or Blaziken this turn, yeah, that's not going to be happening. Although something like a Mind Bend would not be too bad, although we still have to counteract what we call, you know, in this case I would call it, you know, inner, like, negative energies, right? You want to be playing down 2 energies, but at least one of them stays in play. Although that's very difficult to do with the spot that Fabian is sitting in.
Fabian going for an Arven, for an Air Balloon, and a Ultra Ball. Considering what to discard now for the Ultra Ball, but going for a Super Rod first, bringing back Monkey Dory and potentially an Energy, or just an Elgium for now, leaving the Energy in the discard pile ready for Blaziken, I imagine. Going, of course, for the Ultra Ball. Boss's Orders and Pheasantipity are going into the discard pile for now, and here comes that very Blaziken.
Yeah, Mega Chicken coming into play, and the Blaziken is what this deck is all about. As we said, it's one of the best attackers in this matchup. You know, the Smolder Salt does 200 and doesn't quite have a true nemesis in terms of, you know, something that can take it out. You can start to use the Artisan for Elgium. It's actually pretty funny here. You can go ahead and use a slight switch and start racking up all the energies on a Pokemon where Rune does not want the energies. I'm quite uncertain how many energies Rune actually has in their discard pile, because what can happen here is that you can use a slight switch, move it down to something like a Curlia perhaps, right? And then you can make sure that the energies that are on Rune's board at some point runs out to a point where you can't use them quite.
Yeah, putting the energy onto Pokemon that don't need them is really frustrating for Rune, because then if Fabian chooses not to KO those particular Pokemon, Rune can't put them back with Psychic Embrace. And what's even tougher is that Darkness Energy can't be brought back with Psychic Embrace. So for now, Rune's Monkey Dory just doesn't have the energy. He's too sleepy to use his big Adrenaline Brain. He's got no Darkness Energy, but Fairy's borrowing it by force.
Yeah, Clefairy's borrowing it by force, which means that Fabian can go back and be like, well, I got to move the damage on my Shaman. Job done. Nicely. Also, the Monkey Dory on Rune side is not going to be able to push that damage back, which means that Fabian can start building up a board where you can take out, you know, Curlia plus Clefairy at the same time, potentially next turn even with a counter catch, although that Bravery Charm is going to put a stopper to that.
Absolutely. A good Bravery Charm, if I do say so myself, into a Professor's Research, and a beautiful hand that is a Darkness Energy alongside, wow, a lot of good resources for the future. We've got the Mew, Night Stretcher, Artisan, another Night Stretcher, and Arven. I think that's a pretty good hand for keeping things flowing at this point.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes, Rune did get the Darkness Energy, and getting the retreat off, being able to push more damage into play, just promoting the Clefairy, knowing that the Clefairy's not going to get knocked out next turn. It just isn't.
Not with that Bravery Charm, it's not. That Clefairy is brave, getting 50 extra HP, so its HP is no longer sitting at a 190, but actually a really frustrating 240.
Yeah, so Rune has to make the decision whether or not to Adrenaline Brain. If you're Adrenaline Braining here, you're definitely putting it onto the Elgym, so you get to remove those damage counters from play totally. If you're just leaving 20 damage somewhere on Fabien's board, take the knockout active, that doesn't quite make sense, because then it means that Fabien can get to distribute those damage counters as he wishes. Therefore, 30 onto Elgym, because the damage can disappear to the void anyways.
Absolutely. Not giving Fabien any resource, making sure that you're not putting fuel on the Monkey Dory fire. And using Artisan to go ahead and continue to have a very populated board right now. Or just to take a look and see what resources you've got. It can be a good idea just to use the stadium for the effect of looking in the deck. We do, however, have another Monkey Dory, so that's been benched to just continue to scare Rune out of not leaving any damage around on Fabien's board right now.
We kind of got to learn at both NAIC and Worlds. The more monkey business you can do, the more chance you have of winning the game. And I guess that these players have taken that to heart. Now, Fabien's going to go through, use the Dragapult as their engine, and what the name of the game is right now is to start getting attacks off while being, protective of the bench Monkey Dories that you have and making sure that you can actually pull off meaningful attacks. The Bravery Charm stopping the knockout here is actually going to be super annoying for Fabien, since it gets Fabien into a spot of, well, then I attack into Clefairy, and then I'm pretty sure there's going to be 60 damage, or at least 30 damage, washing over to my board on top of whatever attack I get to receive.
Exactly, and then it just starts racking up too quickly. Now, the nice thing about Fabien's board is, for the most part, those Pokemon have really high HP totals, apart from Sweet Shaman and some of those Monkey Dory. So sometimes it might not matter too much, and this could be an impactful Iono. With Fabien, we'll be able to get 6 cards, and Rune will be down to just 3. Gardevoird not being well known for its draw power.
Yeah, Iono always has to be disruptive element. It seems like whenever you play against Dragapult, they take a couple of prizes, and then they go Iono attack, which is what's going to happen here. Oh, gotta catch on to Monkey Dory.
Here we go.
Want to win that tug of war with the monkeys, right? The more monkeys in play, the better.
Absolutely, and the fewer monkeys your opponent has, the better for yourself. We know that from many matches that we've enjoyed this weekend, that whoever has the most Monkey Dory in play, if there's going to be a battle between the two, is going to definitely have a strong advantage.
And we have to be thinking here, it's super smart to do that, right? What Fabien's thinking is that, well, there's a Shaman down. We don't have any rule box Pokemon on the bench, so it's 100% protected against Screamtail. Rune typically in these Gardevoird decks only plays Counter Catcher, and I can tell you that, yeah, Rune does not play Boss's Orders in their list, which means that Gardevoird as a deck has been forced to punch into active spot. What happens when you do that? Well, there's going to be 2 Monkey Dories being able to do that, and then Fabien is actually going to be able to take out the Screamtail, because yes, we might be saying, well, there's a Bravery Charm attached to it. Yeah, we don't care, because we get a Monkey Dory and make sure that that gets bypassed.
Absolutely, and that's the scary part of the darkness of Monkey Dory. There goes the energy attachment, and an Iono back. Rune using Fabien's tricks against them and going for a fresh set of 3 cards. But are they going to be of much help? They're pretty good. We got an Ultra Ball, Professor's Research, and I think another Bravery Charm. I'm not mad at that. That seems like a good combination of cards.
Sometimes whenever you're playing Gardevoird, you have these kind of hands where, regardless of what you draw, it actually doesn't feel like the perfect hand, right? In Rune situations, it's kind of awkward. You're sitting like, well, I kind of want to Adrenaline Brain. I kind of want to like attack, but it doesn't feel great whenever I attack with Clefairy in this spot, because we do 120, 140, 160, 180 damage here, right? 180, yes, it does build up with a 2-hit knockout, but then once we factor in that Fabien can, either go in and attack with Dragapult, not quite getting there, because like, again, it'll be awkward on Fabien's side. What's he supposed to attack with next turn?
Here comes the Screamtail. Looks like we're eyeing it up. It might be time to start putting the pressure on with a single prize Pokemon in the active soon. But I don't think quite yet. I think we still need to deal with that Shaman, because even Screamtail won't be able to do enough damage to Blaziken yet. It might just be putting 180 onto the Blaziken and trying to mop that up later, because it's got such high HP. Yeah,
but it's also a good way like benching the Screamtail, because it's a 1-prizer anyway. It doesn't hurt for you to bench, really. And also boost up your damage. Going for that 180 up to 200 instead. And, the more damage, the better in this case, because it means that if Fabien goes to double Monkey Retreat, at least Rune was going to be able to take that out with a Screamtail going back, since the Blaziken will not be protected.
Okay, on with our recon directives. Are they going to pull Fabien further towards that victory? It may look like Rune is in the lead, but Fabien has a very strong board presence right now and is consistently just chipping away at Rune's resources, and even more so with now this secret box being able to cherry pick 4 cards out of the deck that they might need rather than what they have in hand is pretty powerful, if you ask me. Being able to save secret box until later in the game when you need it even more can be so advantageous. If you don't need it for your setup, then you can just utilize it later for some real power plays.
As long as you get free cards to discard with it, it's always going to be a good card. We do see there's at least a Turo. The rest of it's kind of out of frame, so we're just waiting to see whenever Fabien pulls it into his hand. See, that's a Turo and a Night Stretcher.
Interesting. Again, Night Stretcher is a great addition to this deck right now, so let's see how they're going to utilize it. But first, it's time to Monkey Dory, Adrenaline Brain, 20 damage counters from Shaman over to Gardevoird, recognizing that Shaman really is something that's holding Fabien's board together right now.
Yeah, and with Shaman holding down to 40, essentially, actually it's really smart. You can do Professor's Turo, put down the Pekron, and you know what's really smart about this? You can pull up the Gardevoird, use that Pekron, and lock the Gardevoird in place in the active. It's a very, heads-up play here for Fabien, because if Rune doesn't have enough energies in discard pile, you can use the Poison Chain, leave that in the active, and with Toxic Subjugation, Poison's going to deal 60. But 20 damage from the attack, plus 60, doing 80, 60 back. It's like putting 140 on the Gardevoird, and it's not being able to retreat. What I'm really looking for here is how many energies does Rune have in their discard pile?
That cheeky Petra run is really coming into play now. An interesting card that I've not seen in this list very often at all, but I'm really interested to see its inclusion. It's a little bit like Maractus with some extra poison power, so it's a lovely inclusion. I think it's really smart, and I haven't seen it being used in this way before. Okay, here we go. On with Rune's turn now with Gardevoird, kind of trapped in the active right now. Can't currently move. We've managed to draw plenty of cards thanks to Professor's research, but is it going to be enough?
Yeah, is it going to be enough? As alluded to before, you need a lot of things, right? You need to then start discarding your psychic energies. Gardevoird cannot retreat, and even if Gardevoird gets to fire off an attack, it has to put damage counters onto itself to be able to charge itself up. There are already 2 psychic energies, but for Rune, is it the investment worth it, really, to go ahead and do this?
I think that's what it's all about. Is it all worth it? If it's not, then it's not really advantageous to be wasting resources. Rune's actually used a lot of cards at this stage of the game and is not a whole lot closer to snapping up that victory, regardless of an early lead. Again, with not being able to play things like Boss's Orders, taking an early lead for Gardevoird can not be a great situation, which is so strange to say. Okay, in with Artisan, just checking out what's left in the deck. Like I said, there's not a lot left. It looked like 5 cards or so. And so when we're looking at the future of this set, we're really having to consider when and where we're using our resources as to not run out.
Yeah, you're right. And with these, small decks getting in there, then we start looking at Rune's deck. The only thing to recover is actually Iono. There's no Super Rod. There's only Night Searcher in the deck to get some recovery going. But it means Rune still has free prizes to take. That's not a lot in comparison to the deck size that they have. So we got to see the concession here. And Rune moving up 1-0 in the game.
Taking it further, Rune once again proving that they are strong and wise with Gardevoird at their side, bringing a strong start to this event. And my word, have they proven that Gardevoird is still a force to be reckoned with and very scary given some interesting inclusions in the deck indeed. And even not being able to use the Scream Tail in that game was still victorious.
Yeah, we can see that's kind of like tug of war. Fabian starting off with Elgin, which wasn't quite a good starter. Then not even getting to turn 1 Evo, quite of a letdown, right? Getting knocked out on the Elgin to start. Then we're going to be able to start, with the Monkey Dory pressure with getting that Gardevoird down, taking out the first Monkey Dory. Initially winning this sort of tug of war there is with these Monkey Dories. Being able to put 30 on the Elgin to make sure that the most damage possible goes to the Void, getting that knockout and then attacking into Blaziken, and kind of leaving Fabian in a spot where there's no good attacker.
No, and that's the thing. It eventually just kind of ran out of steam, and Rune was just able to keep putting the pressure on, and it was just too much in the end. Rune taking that 1-0 in our top 4 here at Frankfurt Regional Championships.
Yeah, we have to see how it goes for our next game. We were alluding to, Fabian prizing that one-off Budju.
Not ideal.
Had that happened, after Rune had no nest balls to start off with no Ralts, using Ichipollen there would have been the exact point where you want to do that. But hey ho, that's what we get with prize cards, right?
That's what happens.
Just playing 2 Badu and then you don't get one of them prized.
Absolutely, and the nice thing about that is that we saw Rune make that comeback, because not starting at all with any Ralts on your first turn can honestly feel so harsh as a Gardevoird player. Your heart sinks, but Rune makes such a good comeback of it, immediately being able to get 2 out using Artisan and Nest Ball, evolving them straight away with Technical Machine Evolution, and all of a sudden, before I could even blink, there was a Gardevoird.
Amy, speaking of no Ralts, it looks like Rune's going to go first in this game, obviously, since Fabian wants to go second, and prizes are fine on both sides, sort of.
Don't tell me.
I don't see a way to get a Ralts. Oh, there it is.
My goodness gracious, Ultra Ball. But it's only 1. So we're, of course, going in with the Earthen Vessel, very reminiscent of last game. Straight away, discarding a Psychic Energy, and of course, grabbing a couple of extras. We can either get Psychic or Dark.
Amy, I might be bad at math, but 1 is more than none. So I'll be happy if I was in Rune's shoes, getting that top deck. It's just like we saw last time we saw Fabian on stream. Getting that Arven top deck on turn 1 to get that secret box is really what alive the game for him. And yeah, Rune is the same case here. Top decking that Ultra Ball, saying, I can get out of Ralts at the very least, but it's also depending on what there is besides that, right? You still want to get it supported for the second turn. You still want to get some parts of setup going where Rune is going to start being able to, rely more on the top deck. It's good with the Earthen Vessel that you get to thin out in the deck, right?
And we're going for another. Speaking of, we're going to keep on going, thinning that deck, getting more energy into the discard pile and claiming more for themselves. Rune doing some really thorough price checking here. Fair enough. It's top 4. It's top 4. You can't be taking any chances, figuring out what cards are in the prize cards to give himself the best chances of success.
It's top 4. You want to give yourself the absolute best chance. You want to make the best plays possible. Typically, we have only 15 minutes on the clock. For these top cut matches, asymmetrical, and thereafter, we have 75 minutes to give the players the max amount of opportunities to make the correct plays. Sometimes in Swiss, you may have to speed up where some of your plays may become a bit sloppy, a bit more mistakes can come in, but with this, you can get to take your time a little bit more and make these accurate plays without having really the pressure off the clock.
Rune's going for the Mew EX to give themselves some more draw power, because I think the hand is looking a little bit devoid of that otherwise. So it would be all well and good getting a Ralts, but if you can't follow that up with actions on the following turn, then it's still no good. I love this inclusion of the Mew EX. I love its use, and especially since we've been able to discard lots of cards and primarily Psychic type energy, which is fabulous. Mew is a great addition here and a great draw engine when we're low on cards anyway. We're going to keep on going. Bravery Charm Mew, we're going to draw 2. Oh, okay. Not too shabby. Retreat into the Mew as a free retreater and, of course, with a higher HP.
And yet again, the issue is that we didn't get Ralts out turn 1, but we did get at least a research off that restart draw. So honestly, I'd take it. If you got both, that would have been heaven. But looking at it here, like, Fabian, again, sitting with a bit of a rough hand. Did at least have the team Evo. Does have Iono to potentially draw into energy. But from the looks of it on Fabian's side, it's like your opponent goes Ultra Ball from you to draw 2 cards. Your hand must be terrible. And if you're sitting in Fabian's spot, you kind of don't want to be playing that Iono because oftentimes you're just giving your opponent out a better hand.
Yeah, if you're thinking, okay, Rune's only got 3 cards in hand at this point, a lot of Psychic type energy in the discard, no rolls, hasn't left me any energy in play. If you're Fabian right now, you're kind of thinking, all right, I've just got to focus on my own game plan, time to Ultra Ball, do a deck search, see what I've got, what I've not got, and kick things off with a Dreepy.
And kicking things off with Dreepy indeed at least gives 1 target for that team evolution. Off Iono, you would wish to get something like Buddy Buddy Puff and Energy, so you can at least fire off a really good evolution and potentially start getting your things into play. Best thing would be, honestly, Secret Box.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong at all. Again, we've denoted its power many times. We are going for the Iono, which takes away that Professor's Research from Rune, which is kind of big. We'll have to see if there are some better cards in this 6, and it's not looking too shabby either, so I think Rune is probably quite happy with that, and hopefully Fabian is too. Let's see if they manage to get much else. We kind of want a Torchic here.
We kind of just want a Buddy Puffin or at least something, but yeah, gonna be that awkward TM evolution for just our Cloak. Rune God, Ralts, got Nestball, another Monkey Dory, a Research, Rat Candy. Man, I mean, you don't even want to play the Research then because you can be guaranteed Rat Candy Gardevoird now.
Honestly, I think with Fabian's start, you kind of are happy to go slow here.
Yeah.
You're happy to be in the slow lane. It's not a problem. You've got a Ralts now. Is it looking like Fabian's doing much next turn? Not really. When you consider how energy is attached in this game, you can only attach 1 energy per turn to 1 of your Pokemon, unless you have a Blaziken in play.
Rune can also
but we're definitely not having a Blaziken in play.
Yeah, and with no Blaziken in play, Rune can also start faking a bit that his hand is also bad, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we don't necessarily have a supporter, but gotta go ahead and do the Professor's Research.
We're going for
and
it.
if we get the full value off this, we get Evo plus energy. What are we getting, me?
There's an energy, but I didn't see a Technical Machine evolution at all, no. So I think it might just be a pass the turn. It indeed is onto Fabian's turn, and now we're looking forward to kind of just trying to solidify this board state once again. We've got that Fire-type energy, which we have seen has been troublesome in the past, so I like attaching that right now before this Professor's Research.
And off the Research, we're just going to need more setup pieces. This Elgin being in the active is, I mean, cool. There's no need to move with it, so there's nothing to do, but at least we got that Buddy Buddy Puff and being able to get out those Torchic.
Finally, we see Dreepy and our Torchic ready to heat up this stage because we kind of need it right now. But I like that Fabian attached the Fire-type energy last turn because it kind of signals to Rune, like, I'm going to be ready soon, regardless of this Torchic. So if you want to come for my Torchic, fair enough, but it's not going to stop Dragapult.
Yeah, but there's going to be no way that Torchic gets knocked out next turn. There's no Monkey Doors and Energy in play, there's a Shaman in play, and yeah, Screamtail therefore cannot target the Torchic. So Fabian's bench setup is safe. The only thing that's unsafe on Fabian's board is whatever he decides to leave in the active, which in this case is going to be the passing Elgin.
Here we go. So passing on the Elgium. Rune very cleverly not leaving any energy in play for Elgium to manipulate. And we've got an okay hand. We've got flexibility. The counter catchers aren't online. We've got 2 Iono, 2 energy, but not the right ones. We don't have any darkness energy yet, so we can't really be making use of those Monkey Dory until we either Iono or Arven.
Yeah, I'm really just looking for the options. Rune, kind of looking at it like, yeah, can we just at least get something like, you know, a Curly into play that's like the middle step, right? If you're halfway there, you're almost there, right?
And I think we might be headed right towards that with a Secret Box and a Technical Machine evolution being eyed up from that Arven. We could happily take both, and then Secret Box is going to allow Rune to gather even more cards. But no, we're going to save it for later. We don't need that right now. Ultra Ball is plenty. So Technical Machine evolution can be attached to any Pokemon that doesn't already have a tool card attached, which is a fair amount at this point. And then there we go. Yeah, Monkey Dory is going to be the one who gets the Psychic type energy and, of course, our Technical Machine evolution, evolving both of our Ralts into Curlier. Finally, we're there. But of course, we know there was a Curlier in the prize cards. And so the rare candy that went into the discard pile earlier, ooh, not sure how I feel about that. We'll get there eventually, but it's one of those kind of moments where it's unfortunate we couldn't go for both Curlier.
Indeed, yeah, we do get to see the Earthen Vessel discarding a Psychic energy come on from Fabian. And yeah, setting up this board state, getting that Darkness energy, getting that Fire energy. If we can get a Red Candy Blaziken, we're all off to the steps. And yeah, what Fabian really, really does want to here is potentially to get the full high roll of getting Blaziken into play, getting Boss's Orders onto that Curlia, since it would force Rune to go Candy Gardevoird.
It would indeed. With our recon directives from Ardra Cloak, once again, putting in so much work. We've managed to piece together a really, really fantastic hand. The only thing we're really missing is maybe a rare candy for our Torchic at this stage.
Yeah, but we do get to see the Ultra Ball for Combuskin at the very least. So what we're getting into here, Amy, is well, halfway there again. It's the same as getting the Curly out, but the Elgium is safe in the active spot, which is what I like. And you can start moving this Psychic energy attached to Monkey Dory. Potentially, you could just be moving it down to something like the Ralts or the other Monkey Dory, so you're kind of blocking the retreating options and blocking its entrance to discard pile.
Absolutely, and moving on, of course, to Rune's turn after that attack from Elgium, where it just moves an energy. But sometimes that can be really irksome, especially in a matchup like this, where your energy attachments are sacred. Gardevoird comes flurrying out of the deck with that Ultra Ball. Definitely want to get that online as soon as possible now, as a Dragapult is impending.
Yeah, with an impending Dragapult, it's very good that we at least got the Gardevoird out now. We do want to get a second Curly down. We can't quite do that with the Curly being prized and having us tossed away some Red Candy pieces, right? It's going to be difficult to get the second Gardevoird into play with these lines that these Gardevoird are playing. Going to use the Psychic Embrace, use that to retreat the Monkey Dory, and potentially just promote the other Psychic Embrace, the same energy again, and go for Mind Bend for knockout.
It very much is the case. We're just going for the Mind Bend there, knock out Elgium, and another Monkey Dory comes forward to play.
Yeah, and more Monkey Party, more Monkey business indeed there, Amy. And yeah, Fabian again, he's bound to just look at the deck and be like, what can I actually get out of it? What can I get that I could use for something? It is Rune asking the questions and Fabian coming up with pretty vague answers at this point.
It's a really tricky situation to be in here if you're Fabian. You don't really want to activate Rune's counter catches. There is a possibility of kind of making a Dragapult and starting placing damage counters using Monkey Dory in the latter stages and mopping things up. But really, what's the ideal target right now?
Yeah, we do. In terms of ideal, we do have an update from the other top four. Tord Reklev is up 1-0 against Keito Arai, which means that, we're one step closer to being able to, having Europeans defend their own regionals, right? Keito coming all the way from Japan, 2 games away from an invite. But, currently in the dumps when it comes to that matchup against Tord.
Yeah, true. We had it last year here in Germany. First event of the season. We had a Japanese player come over and win and take that title. Currently, Tord is fighting tooth and nail to try and have a fellow European win that. But honestly, I think it's really brave of the Japanese players coming over to challenge our European players, as the format is so different and the championship points don't count for them. So they either have to win or nothing.
Yeah, indeed. Here we do see the toxic subjugation play again with the poison chains. Gonna try and do that again. 20 for the attack plus 60 for poison, dealing 80 damage with everything. And yeah, going on to Rune's turn. And yes, there is enough energy in the discard pile for Gardevoird to attack, but it's not going to be able to retreat. There's going to be one maximum Adrenabrain from Monkey Dory this turn, which in turn means that there's not going to be put a lot onto Fabien's board. It's a good way for Fabien to buy time and also guarantee that he could take 2 prizes next turn on that Gardevoird.
Okay, Monkey Dory. This Monkey Dory is stacked. He's got so many energy, but importantly now has a darkness energy, so is able to use Adrenabrain, so we can start pushing some of the damage back onto Fabien's board and then knocking out that active, like we did last round, so that then Fabien can't be just pushing that damage back. So you are using it as a pseudo-healing method.
I mean, indeed, we are using that as a pseudo-healing method, and also I said that we're guaranteed to knock out Gardevoird. We're actually nowhere near that. We're just leaving that stuck in the active. When the Pekron gets knocked out by, potentially a Miracle Force from Gardevoird, the attack actually does not work once that's off the field. We have to remember that. So that'll be the damage going up to 90, which then plus a Blaziken would be 290, so still a bit off. And with the way that it looks for Rune's side now, it could still again be the Adrenabrain, 20 damage from either of the Monkey Dories, 30 damage from the Gardevoird, onto the Pekron, knocking that out, since Rune knows, yeah, we want to avoid this damage, heal it off completely, not have that in play, and that would be advantageous towards them.
It would indeed. And so, I mean, really, it feels like the ball's in anyone's court. I love the idea of trapping the Gardevoird in the active, but I don't think it's going to stick for very long. And if it's not sticking for very long, then Rune can really make a comeback and make some trouble for these dragons.
It's super difficult for Fabien to navigate this, right? Suboptimal draws, a bit of a bad setup, and you're wishing here that you can have at least a better setup than Rune in these cases. It also shows up a bit of the inherent disadvantages you have against Gardevoird once you're playing Dragapult, right? You don't really have a good solid answer of one-hit knockouting the Gardevoirds, nor do they on the Blaziken, but they don't really care because they do have the Monkey Dories.
So true, and that's the tricky part about any matchup, especially when there's Monkey Dory on both sides. It can get really tough. You're using Monkey Dory traditionally to fix the mathematics on your knockout scales, but you can't do them too early in some instances, especially when it comes from Rune's perspective. Here we are with an Artisan, once again getting to look through that deck, have a little check, and of course we do have another Ralts. It is definitely worth playing at this stage.
Yeah, and here comes the Ralts. In this case, it's also Rune thinning out the deck, giving as much damage output for the Future Clefairy as well. And yeah, if Fabien gets into a position where after the Psychic Embrace, you're moving up 110, goes up to 120, plus 200, that would be knockout with Dragapult. And let's say that Fabien was able to potentially make 10 damage extra on the board. It could mean that you could get the knockout on the Gardevoird, as well as leaving off some stuff. But we do have to remember with Miracle Force, a little bit of text under it says that this Pokemon recovers from all special conditions, so no more poison damage upon that.
No, it is a strangely nice extra line of text that is often forgotten with Gardevoird, but it does heal itself from that poison, which is rather nice. Fabien looking like they haven't got much going on here, honestly.
No, just some cloaks here. Gardevoird for 310 HP. Both Blaziken and Dragapult is definitely going to be able to knock it out. Don't forget about that. But the question is then, where do we go after that?
Yeah.
If Rune can respond with Rare Candy Gardevoird, like, Fabien has to knock out this Gardevoird. The play is definitely Iono, knock it out, see where that can get you. But if Rune can respond with Candy Gardevoird, then yeah, this starts looking pretty bleak because it requires such an investment to knock out a Gardevoird at all.
But here we go. Smolder Salt in all of its glory. Yeah, Gardevoird just can't handle that fire, and off it goes to the discard pile and the energy to boot. 2 prize cards for Fabien, now evening up this prize race with Rune.
And there's always going to be the good old mind bend if you're in doubt, right?
So, always mind doubt when in doubt. Mind bend when in doubt. That's so good, but you're so right. It happens ever so often, especially against Dragapult.
If it's also against Charizard, right? Like, you don't have a way to knock out the Charizard. Well, if you mind bend and get that confused, it's a 50-50, you miss the attack on the following turn, which is what we're going to be looking at, right? The Blaziken cannot attack, but we also do have to start generating damage still onto Fabien's board. Now, with the way that Rune's going about it, fading out as many cards from deck as possible, right? Trying to get into the spot which we can get the Red Candy and the Gardevoird. Got to get the Curlia down. That's step number 1. Iono could be step number 2. It is indeed. And I think step number 3, unless that's a Red Candy Gardevoird, looks like a mind bend.
It looks like a mind bend might be on the horizon, but we also have Monkey Dory in the plethora. We have them in the multiples. We have 2 Monkey Dory now with both with Darkness Energy. We can start manipulating damage counters back if Fabien also does the same on their side of the board. But currently their Monkey Dory is not active. I wonder if Rune's going to kind of force them to attach a Darkness Energy to that Monkey Dory by moving some damage across.
Indeed, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be a challenge to see what Fabien does about it next turn, right? we can get a retreat from Blaziken that gets off the Darkness Energy. We can use that Darkness Energy to put it onto Monkey to use a Donor Brain. But then we kind of also need a Boss Orders and Festivity and start using Phantom Dive on it. Because then Rune can't quite clear 4 prizes in one turn. Then we can get into a spot where Fabian has to try and build a double knockout afterwards. But if we take it one step at a time, yeah, the ball starts to move a little bit more towards Fabien's court, but not by much.
And if we are going for a mind bend, we might as well Adrenabrain this 40 damage across to the other side of the board, because we're going to be placing damage regardless. But at least it puts a little bit of pressure on Fabian to get the Darkness Energy onto their own Monkey Dory, just to start kind of literally having some damage control.
Yeah, and having some damage control indeed here. We have to remember Smolder Saw was used last turn, so no attacking from that Blaziken. That's going to be really, really, difficult to get all of that going. And what I'm really thinking about here is, yeah, the way of which Fabian is going to be able to, both heal the Shaman so it isn't becoming collateral damage here, together with getting knocked out with the Blaziken afterwards. 40 damage left, going to be easily handleable by 2 Monkey Dories sitting there on Runa's board. And yeah, Fabian has to get his own Monkey going, preferably in the multiples. Let's get that Budgie. It's not going to make a huge effort here.
No, really? I mean, do we start putting the pace on here? We've got the Psychic Energy in hand. We've got a Secret Box. Do we angle for getting the Dragapult set up this turn, manually retreating Blaziken and getting on with getting some prize cards?
The issue with just using Dragapult here at all is that there's Mew down there, right? If we get a knockout with a Dragapult, Mew plus Monkey Dory can actually use Phantom Dive, essentially for doing 400 damage to the active and 90 spreading to the bench. That is such a thing to look at, because it means you can take up both Dragapult and Cloak in one, and then the entire setup would just be wiped on Fabian's side. Fabian has to be really, really careful about how you would actually do that. And if Fabian ends up doing that, he knows that, just the benching off the Clefairy is going to be huge, huge, huge problems. And that Rune's deck so thin that you expect that having the out to Clefairy is going to be almost a certain.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Maybe a Boss's Orders angle here instead then. Maybe the Mew. Who knows? But there's certainly a lot to play for. I don't think that going aggressive here with Dragapult is the wrong timing, personally. Because if you look at the prize count, Fabian's on 2, Rune would respond with 2, and then Fabian would take the last 2 prize cards afterwards, especially if Blaziken's still on the board. It can still do some meaningful damage to a 2-prize Pokemon like the Mew itself or a Pheasantipity.
You can also go for the knockout on Curlia plus attack him with Dragapult. That is the secondary route you can. When doing exactly that, you can even use it a Cloak, because you can use the Adrenabrain with the energy retreat off with the Blaziken. We have to remember that. But getting the knockout on the Curlia stops the Mew. That means that Mew, unless Rune goes Candy, Gardevoird, Underbrows, is going to be off the table. So step 1, get that done. Step 2, go for Adrenabrain, put the 30 damage onto the Curlia. And are we going to be able to see, yeah, we do get to see Dragon Headbutt from the Dracloak taking out the Curlia here, making it so Rune has to go through this Dracloak, because A, it's 2 energies in play. We want to get rid of those. But B, we also have to start, we can't just use Mew on it. It's not a Phantom Dive we get out of it.
Honestly, using Dracloak like this is so unorthodox, but so smart at the same time. It can use Dragon Headbutt just like Dragapult, but you only get 1 prize card if it's defeated in return. So actually, this puts Fabian in such a fabulous position, and Rune really has to think about how on earth they're going to respond, because Rune has been, plodding along at this pace, but we still haven't got a Gardevoird to be able to continuously string together attacks in the way the Gardevoird is well known for.
And with the way of looking at it here, with the way Rune plays, right? Earthen Vessel gets a Darkness Energy, wants to be finning that deck. The more you fin the deck, the better cards you're going to draw. Have that Festivity open as draw. Do have the Ultra Ball in hand. Night Searcher can go ahead and get your Gardevoird. Festivity has to grab Arcane. No. Yes, there's a Arcane. We can get the Gardevoird in play this turn on that last roll. So benching that third ball, Amy, definitely important.
It was paramount. It was important not only for thinning the deck, but also making sure that we have Gardevoird potential at any given moment. And these are the cards we needed to make that happen. Here it comes, the rare candy Gardevoird, bringing back Rune's entire board. Now Rune has every ball back in their court, able to accelerate that energy from the discard pile once again. However, is there much worth targeting on Fabian's board right now, especially without the use of a Boss's Orders? Now we do have Counter Catcher, but nothing else yet.
You could just go Psychic Embrace, get some energies into play, and then, yeah, go Mind Bend. It's easy to take out this Dracloak, so it's not a huge amount of effort you have to put into it. But then Rune has to start afterwards trying to get into how do we prize map this out. Both of them are going to be a free prizes apiece, and with having Pheasantipity down, Fabian having damage in play, you can go for the boss knockout on something like Pheasantipity, and then it's only going to be 1 prize thereafter. That Pheasantipity could potentially be the downfall for Rune.
It very much could, unfortunately. Pheasantipity just being that slight liability, even though it's such a advantageous birdie that we have known it to be, still does only have 210 HP, it is a 2-prize Pokemon. We're currently using the Bravery Charm to allow Mew to survive a little better against a Dragapult build. But right now, other than that, we haven't got loads going on Rune's board that's going to be able to survive once Dragapult gets going.
Yeah, but what we do get to see here is that the Psychic Embrace is going to give the 60 damage to Gardevoird, move those 60 damage down to Cloak, putting some additional pressure that has to turn into a Dragapult at some point, putting 2 further damage counters onto Gardevoird, so 5 energies on a Gardevoird, moving even more damage down with that third Monkey Dory.
Here we go. That's the monkey business we've been talking about.
That is indeed monkey business, because we get to take out the whole entire engine of Fabian's side, and Rune gets into a spot of, whoa, we have overcome this. Triple Monkey Dory, taking out both of them, and Fabian was definitely not expecting going into this turn that this would be the case. And yeah, when there's like a board state like this, and Blaziken has 260 HP left,
Rune's psychic abilities here really come into play, knowing that they could just manipulate that damage enough, using 3 Monkey Dory, which is just enough to take out a Dragapult, being able to piece together that Gardevoird flawlessly and really start to put so much pressure on Fabian. At this stage, the rank looks like it might be on the wall, yes, but Rune is really ramping things up, making it really hard for Fabian to respond.
It's going to be super difficult, Amy, because if I'm trying to really figure out how Fabian actually does this. If Fabian goes as an attack with Blaziken, that doesn't seem like a mission that's worthy because you're just dishing 200 damage, but you're getting 90 sent back to your face. And yeah, that's not a way you take free prizes. Rune can just literally chill here next turn, retreat into Monkey Dory and use Mind Bend and just retreat and then go back and forth with the Pokemon. The Elgin with the Slight Shift can switch the Darkness energies over to other Pokemon, like for example, putting 2 Darkness energies in 1 Monkey Dory, putting it onto Mew or Fesendipity. Fesendipity can literally not use it, so it's pretty good to put it there. And then kind of by doing this, capping Rune at using a maximum of 2 Monkey Dories a turn. But the issue that comes here is that this Elgin is easy just to knock out, right? And we have 2 energies already in the discard pile. If Rune just retreats, gets 60 damage into play, can move it with the 2 Monkey Dories, and then we just need to find the last prize. Fabian would need to promote that Blaziken once that knockout happens, and then do what with it?
Exactly. I mean, like, Rune just needs to take 2 prize cards. It's not that complicated. No. We don't always have to be going for a true 2 prize Pokemon. At this stage, Rune's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just, I'll knock out this Elgium, and then whatever you put forward, I'll knock that out as well. And unfortunately, I think that's the situation that Fabian presents at this stage, especially with not really having much more that they're going to be able to do to take 3 prize cards with not having any Dragapult in sight for at least a while. They can't currently really trap any Pokemon in any funky positions. They can't really do much at this stage. Let's see how it all plays out. We've got the energy on the Monkey Dory. We can move 40 across, I guess, to Shaman, or we're just going to knock out, because why not?
Amy, because like if we can get to use the Adrenabrins next turn, there's 1 prize left for Rune now, right? When we get to this spot, keeping this damage in play means we can just use the Monkey Dory to move that onto the Blaziken. And once we start having that happen, you know what? It doesn't even matter.
No, you're quite right. It doesn't matter. And so, unfortunately, I mean, Fabian might as well play to that outs, right? They've got to try and play this out. It is the top 4 here in Frankfurt. You've got to keep playing until the bitter end. And if there's even a slither of a chance, we need to take it. Here we go. Looking at Blaziken's turn. We're going to move some damage using Monkey Dory onto Mew by the looks of things.
I mean, that's still opening technically, right? You can take the knockout on Monkey Dory and you can have Fest going, but it's just going to be a pass. Rune has no more cards in deck, so Rune has to finish it this turn. Have we actually seen there's a super rod in hand though, so we can't quite say that it's going to be at least 3 more turns of that, and you can just start going back and forth with retreating and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely.
So it's going to be super important to see how do we get to do this. And you know, with the super rod, it gives free cards back in deck. That's 3 more turns where Rune can draw for. And that's also going to be 3 more turns where Rune can just, you know, have a merry-go-round of retreating, right? If you just retreat around with the Monkey Dories in play, you just get to use the abilities constantly with the Adrenabrain. You keep to get push damage in play freshly. Use the super rod, and if Fabian goes, there goes my shot.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, why Monkey Dory and Gardevoird truly are best friends in this format. They are a force to be reckoned with, and as if Gardevoird didn't have enough strength behind it already, these Monkey Dory have come along and gone, oh, actually, I can help out. You want me to move that damage you've just put on? Yeah, I'll chuck it over there if you like. And it's working fantastically in this example, especially really pushing Fabian to the edge and making sure the Dragapult just isn't able to do Dragapult things.
And let's just say Rune goes and says, I'll Miracle Force 190. Put that Blaziken up to 220. That's a good shout, right? Then Fabian can move 60 off it, put it down to 160. The Miracle Force for a second time will still take the knockout. So whatever Fabian can throw into play is still going to get knocked out.
And we do see fist bump, Psychic embracing the win. Rune takes the top 4 victory with Gardevoird.
And yeah, this is what persistence means. Rune Heerlemans is in the finals of the Frankfurt Regional Championships. Pretty close to home whenever you're from Brussels, right? And getting here to Frankfurt and, you know, being 1 step away from taking everything at the first time of asking. We do